I'm an old blind guy. I've been blind for a long time. And being blind for a long time has made me understand that every time you have someone else do something for you, rightly or wrongly, there is an opinion attached to it. That is an opportunity you miss to demonstrate your independence. And you don't need to be, I'm so independent, I can read my menu. It's just, it's a matter of, yeah, of course. Listen, I could grab onto somebody's arm and have them walk me somewhere. But you know what? I'd rather use my stick or the dog. And now I can sit across from my lovely wife and we can talk about, what do you think, babe? Should we have this? Should we have that? And it just becomes this normal, I hate to use that term, but just standard, just kind of foodie talk. We're not, I'm not
Right.
like, well, can you read that again? Or, I'm not making the individual my screen reader. Or worse of all, I'm not, I don't know if Stephanie, if this has happened to you, but you go into a place and you say, hey, do you have a Braille menu? I'm like, no, no, no. The server will read it to you. I'm like, really? Was that on her job description
Yes.
for, blind people to walk in and she's got to read now? You can point your phone and use AI at a menu and then say, okay, what are all the chicken dishes? And you may or may not hit it. It may or may not work, or it may or may not take 5 or 6 different tries. And by the time you're done, the sighted person with you, well, let me just read that to you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh my goodness, you have no idea how many times your program has saved my life when I don't know what I want to eat and where I am.
I call myself the passenger princess because I walk with my white cane and my husband drives me around. So we're um, always searching for good places to eat. But he's always asking me, what do I want to eat? So I don't get to pick the music tunes in the car, but I get to pick restaurants. So I get to pull out my Menus4ALL app, and it's so quick and easy. And just by using the nearby location section, I could easily find the restaurants that I want to go to. And I always choose the ones that have the best dessert first. I don't have to tell anybody that, just you people. So that's how I decide what restaurants we're going to go to.
So if there was one thing you could do to make the app better, what would you say?
In terms of what I can make it better, I don't know. I just like eating my way through the app.
Oh my gosh, that right there. That Helen, I hope you recorded that right there.
I did.
Something that's really like important to me when I go out is if I can't access the menu and I'm not with somebody who can read me a menu, that I feel comfortable asking staff to read a menu to me, which even then can be really uncomfortable. If you go somewhere like, here's a bad example, unfortunately, if you go somewhere like the Cheesecake Factory where the menu is like 75 pages long, it can be really awkward to ask a server to read you like all of the headings and then read you some of the items like under those headings, especially when it's a huge menu. So that's why I prefer having the ability to like have an accessible version of the menu, because if I want to read all 500 items, it would be better for me to do that than have like a server stand there and read the entire time. So that's what I like about being able to use Menus4ALL, is that I can look in advance. I can look on the way there, or I can sit at the table and while everybody else is perusing paper menus, I can read it. So I've had great experiences like on Sunday when I went to Faces Brewing and I was able to use Menus4ALL and find it on there. And then I've had kind of weird experiences like when I've been to Cheesecake Factory in the past. And I've been with like a group of friends who are also visually impaired, and we've had to ask a server to read us like dozens of menu items, which takes up their time and like slows things down for the other tables and the other folks that they're hosting, and things like that. So there's good and there's bad when you go out, but I guess it's really what you make of it too.
Right. And that there's always that awkward pause where you have to ask the waiter, what's the price on that? Isn't that like kind of weird?
It's uncomfortable to, I'm older now and I have a job, but like certainly when I was a younger person, like college age, when you're going out with friends and everybody's splitting a check, it can be awkward if you're on like a college student budget, to be asking them to read like all of the prices out loud because you're trying to figure out like what is within my budget. So it's kind of nice as well to be able to look on Menus for All, especially when I haven't been somewhere before and I'm trying to gauge, is this place like average? Is it more expensive? Is it like really cheap to go out? I can kind of know that in advance and know what I'm going to be planning to spend while I'm out. Or, you know, similarly, the group thing, if I'm going out with a group, I can say like, hey folks, I'm recommending 2 places here. One is cheaper than the other. Like, this is the general price range on entrees for this place, and here's the range on entrees for the other place. Like, if budget is going to affect your choice, like, you know, please pick accordingly, things like that. So that's really helpful too. I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that's definitely a factor for a lot of people when they go out.
So I'm gluten free. I had to give up Panera bread, and I never went until I got the Menus for All app. And I was actually, I mean, this is a longer story. I don't know how much you want to hear, but like, I was in a situation where I was around people I didn't know very well at all, and Panera bread was the closest thing. And I was like, well, I can't eat there. And I was like, well, maybe. So I pulled up the app, and they have these grain bowls that are delicious, and they're like with feta cheese and like beans, and oh, it's so delicious. But I didn't even know they existed. And why didn't I download this before? Because the app is so easy to use, because I was a little worried about the efficiency, but it's so easy. And then what's really cool is even as you travel, because we went on vacation, and I was like, well, I'll pull up the app. I don't know what's around. And it showed me all the restaurants around. And so that was cool. So then I was even faster than my husband, who was like doing DoorDash or Google Eats or whatever. And I was like, well, hey, there's a sushi place just next door. And he's like, what? I was like, yeah, it's right. We can walk, you know? And so it just brings more, I don't know, freedom and more flexibility and more independence.
I have done a lot of business travel, and especially when I'm on my own as a blind person, to try to eat on the road can really be challenging. So I always, how many terrible meals have I had in hotels?
Yes.
Call down the front desk. Is there a place serving? Yeah, the bar's open till 11, the kitchen's open till 10, and I kind of joke with my wife. It's really hard to ruin a quesadilla. So I typically would go sit at the bar. Do you have a quesadilla on the menu? Often, most of the time they say yes, and I would just order that. But with Menus for All, able to get into the room, get settled in a little bit, open the app, see what's around, look at the menus, decide where I want to go, and that's been a game changer.
How does your wife like not having to read you the menu?
Very, very much. We've known each other since we were 18 years old, and we're very simpatico. We've been married 38 years. So, she has a beautiful, generous spirit. She hasn't resented needing to do it for those many years we've been together. But since I've been using Menus for All, it's made things nicer. You don't have that piece that's so typical of our past experiences over the decades, because we enjoy our food. We like to dine out. We've eaten in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of restaurants, and for let me do the math, for 43 years of that, she was reading the menus. It's nice to be able to pick a restaurant and make some suggestions on the menu to her. Say, hey, I saw they have, she loves truffle fries. They have truffle fries. It's nice to be able to do that.
Yeah. Sometimes those little things are the things we take for granted, aren't they?
So now, if I were a young single guy I would really be digging it, because when you ask a young lady on a date as a blind person, and then ask your date to read you the menu, it can be a little awkward when you're first getting to know someone.
Well, take it from me, as a single woman, it is awkward also. So trust me, it's no matter what age.
Well, for me, I would get a menu and I'd have to have my glasses with me if I knew I was going out, or my magnifier right here, so with a light. So I would have to use my glasses and that. And then once with a menu. So once this came out, I was like, okay, well, I don't have to carry everything, because I can also, with iPhone, you can tap it and it'll enlarge, it'll do the zoom effect. So if I needed that. So that's been, for me, that's been a godsend, because sometimes you go in a place and I can't always carry 2 pieces of things. My purse won't fit, or I have to carry a bigger to have everything with me. And I sit there and I'm like, Grandma, putting this on, getting my magnifier out, opening the thing, trying to find stuff, and then my family or whom I'm with will usually read it for me. But this, for me, this made me feel more independent.
As his wife, I'll say that it lists the cost, because he loves to know what stuff costs. That's one of the big things he likes. I'll read, if I have to read a menu to him, well, what's that cost? Because he likes to watch his pennies. So then he doesn't have to ask me, well, what's that cost though?
Well, that does help me decide between, if it's between 2 things, you can compare the price to help make that decision,
Okay. So it sounds like that's a good feature for both of you.
Yes. Because then I don't have to tell him aloud, well, that costs $29.99 and that costs $35.99. Because then I know I don't have to say it aloud.
And Brandon, I've seen other individuals with blindness and visual impairments, or I've had it myself when I go out to dinner with my children, and I don't want to ask my kids how much everything costs, because I don't want my kids thinking, oh, Mom can't afford this or something. So I just bite the bullet. I don't say anything, and I get a nice surprise when I get the bill. Right? And that's not a good position for us, is it, Brandon? I mean,
no,
it's not fun.
You don't like to be
having
shocked.
the price.
The price.
That's right. You don't like to be shocked. I mean, and I think about people on a budget. I think about people on first dates. There's some situations where you're not wanting to ask about the price, I would guess. So I can understand that one.
Man, Menus4ALL, if you would like an app that is accessible, easy to navigate, and a place where you can select and find the restaurant that you want and the food items that you want, Menus4ALL is the app for you. It really is the app for you. And the interface is accessible, and you even have what is called the waiter alert that's on there as well, the flashlight. And so it's the app for you. Speaking of restaurants, I'm playing at this restaurant called Folks Folly Prime Steakhouse here in Memphis, Tennessee. I'm playing Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays from 5:30 to 9:30. You will find me there caressing the keys of a 1920 Steinway piano. And so I'm enjoying it.
My favorite part about using the Menus4ALL app is that every menu is laid out exactly the same. I know what to expect. I know what to look for. That makes my life so much easier and makes it so much convenient to use. So that is probably my favorite thing about the app.
If you do the little French bakery in the Venetian, they had a maple bacon croissant that was amazing. So that's a cool thing to do too.
Good example, last year at the National NFB convention in Houston, we were shocked at this, but I pulled up, we were sitting in the hotel restaurant, the 1600 restaurant, and that was the first menu on Menus for All. And so I definitely added it to my favorites since we were going to be there a week. But that helped out so many people, even at the table. And one of my friends from Florida, Russ Davis, he had the app as well. And so he pulled it up, and the ones on his side of the table, they were listening to it. And the one on my side of the table were listening to it. It was so wonderful to go down through there and not have to ask the server, what's your entrees, what's your specials, things of that nature.
I mean, because there's value into being able to do it yourself. How does it make you feel to just be able to open the app, find what you're looking for, and not have to include anybody else? Especially like if you're taking your wife out to dinner. It's just a moment for you two at the table, right?
Right, exactly. It is. It's a wonderful feeling. It really is, to be independent and not only be independent, but share the app with others and look up the entrees, appetizers, etc. with it. But it is so fulfilling to be able to use this app, and I'm so thankful y'all got it. And when